Right. So let us understand how the injury response happen here. The moment there is an injury, the wound, trauma, or if there is any fracture, we need to understand there are two responses here. One is neuroendocrine response, and next is inflammatory response. And this neuroendocrine response, they increase in the catecholamines like dopamine, noradrenaline, adrenaline, increase the cortisol from the adrenal gland, increase the glucagon from pancreas. Not only this, there is an increase in the inflammatory response, like increase in cytokinins, increase arachidonic acid metabolites, increased hepatic acute phase proteins, increased oxidizing agents. So what happens in this? There is an increased lipolysis from adipose tissue, right? There is increased proteolysis from muscles. In the liver, there is increased glycolysis, increased glycogenolysis, increased gluconeogenesis, increase lipid complexes, increase urea synthesis. So this all happens here. Increase lipolysis, increase proteolysis. There is formation of glucose, formation of glycogen, right? And once there is an increased lipolysis, there is an increased fatty acid. But the point here is, in this, when there is a trauma, there will be no adaptive ketogenesis. There will be no adaptive ketogenesis. That means ketogenesis are not utilized by the heart and the brain. What are why? We need to understand few basic points here. The first thing is increased counter regulatory hormones like adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol, glucagon, growth hormones, which I have told you, increase energy requirements up to 40 kilocalorie per kg, because since there is a trauma, body needs a much increase in the energy. So up to 40 kilocalories per kg per day it needs. And increased nitrogen requirement, because why there is nitrogen requirement? Because there is an excretion of nitrogen. Why there is excretion of nitrogen? Because there is an proteolysis. Then increased insulin resistance and glucose intolerance, because much of glucose is produced in the body because from the various source gluconeogenesis. So insulin resistant and glucose intolerance happen. So preferentially, and oxidation of lipids happens here. Oxidation of lipids happens. There is an increased gluconeogenesis and protein catabolism. So glucose starts producing from various sources, and gluconeogenesis and proteins catabolism. There is a breakdown of proteins. Loss of adaptive ketogenesis. Why there is a loss? Because the ketone bodies are not utilized now, because they need a much of energy. The energy gets from the muscles, after the proteins, the amino acids, and that forms in the gluconeogenesis. And we should also understand there is a fluid retention in with associated hypoalbuminemia, because there is an increased capillaries, and there has been production, the albumin comes out. So in the at last you have an hypoalbuminemia. So that's all you should understand in the injury.